Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. We're here talking with Chris Fisk of Infinitale Chronicles. How you doing?
Hey, man! After seeing that intro, I love that T-shirt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it too. I had such a hard time getting it made too. Forgive my
Mhm.
voice. I uh, I tried to do everything locally. There's a place 2 blocks away that makes T-shirts,
Mhm.
and I showed them. I downloaded the picture of the patriarch, and I told them this is what I want on my shirt.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then they started making that picture on the shirt. I was like, no, no,
Oh.
I said, I want it to look like I'm wearing this shirt.
Mhm.
So what they did, so like I put a square around the shirt. You know what I mean? And they're like, oh, okay. And then they sent me the approval, and it's that square on a shirt. I'm like, no, 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 I want the whole thing. And finally, they were like, here's your money back. Like, I don't know if they could do it or if I annoyed them or if they did. So I went to all of these different local places. There's like a little strip mall by me called T Frog, I think it's called.
Mhm.
And the guy was just like, oh yeah, we could do it. And he explained the whole process. Like we have to sublimate the shirt. Like you, they dye the pieces before they sew them together and blah blah blah. But the minimum order is 10 shirt. I was like, oh wow, you know what I mean? So but I had to, you know, go to a bunch of different. But you think a t-shirt, custom t-shirt place would have known? I don't know. I
Yeah.
they just didn't want my because sometimes I come across like a crazy person. My wife says,
This guy with a beard came in and threatened me if I didn't do a superhero.
well, nah, it wasn't like that. I mean, I just said, here's all the money in advance. You know what I mean? I wanted them to know that I was serious because they
Yeah.
looked hesitant, you know. But but there you go. So I don't know. Old woman behind the counter. So but yeah, I love that T-shirt. The Mary Sue shirt was pretty easy because it's just a symbol, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that was pretty easy to do. So I had to get like they I wanted all cotton, but they couldn't do all cotton. But so I forget what this material is, but I wear it a lot just to make sure and I wash it
Mhm.
before so people have all these questions. Like it's comfortable, it doesn't shrink, and the colors don't fade because the whole thing is dyed. You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
whole piece. It's not just an iron on or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not ink. It's yeah. I saw that. It's the sublimation stuff. That's awesome.
Right. Yeah. They do pretty good, and it's pretty. They do pretty reasonable. I mean, I have to charge, but I make like $4 a shirt. You know what I mean? So it's not like,
Mhm.
but and that, I got hoodies made up. Nobody's
Oh.
ordered the hoodies yet because King Fu isn't in the comics yet. But King Fu will
Oh.
be in issue 3, and I think the hoodies will be a big deal in issue 3. So
Sweet.
yeah, I don't know if you know King Fu, the world's greatest martial artist and Elvis impersonator.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll bring up a picture. I didn't think we'd be talking about. So we were talking before we went live. You want to tell everybody what we were talking about?
Yeah, the absolute horror of the new mayor that's coming into New York City, and I got a lot of fear for that, man. Like, I know we're like kind of laughing it off and stuff, but it's like I have friends and family that have endured London and the other cities of the United Kingdom the last time something like this happened, and like you were saying, John, like maybe this is the crash that they need. New Yorkers need to kind of snap them out of the wacko leftiness that they've been voting in. But I don't know, man. Like never underestimate how stupid people are. Like they'll blame
Oh yeah,
something other than the fact that they have it. I can't wait until the what is it, the Adhan at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh, it's like going to be blasting over loudspeakers and stuff.
I can't wait until they start banning dogs in public.
Yeah.
You know, Americans, we love our dog, but like people have short memories. And I remember when New York City was a hole in the wall. It was
Mm-hmm.
disgusting. Like when we look at a Taxi Driver,
Mm-hmm.
that's what New York was like. If you watch movies like Taxi Driver or Gotham City was inspired by New York.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then
Warriors.
things got pretty good. Giuliani took over,
Mm-hmm.
and that was 2000 around. I'm rounding things off for easy math. And New
Mm-hmm.
York was pretty good. But they forget like the Dinkins years. They forget the Koch years. Like, New York was bad. You just didn't want to go through it. Times Square was just hookers and drugs and puke and stuff like that. It was, and then Giuliani, people were complaining because Times Square was all Disney movies and family friendly and everything like that. It's like, which one would you rather have?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now it's getting really. I've been posting pictures and then I delete them off Twitter because I'm like, I don't need to be known as. But like, I'm stepping over bums and they're literally laying on the ground with their penises out, just pissing straight into the air. Guys in the subway just trying to fight. So just today, the subway just all of a sudden started announcing the wrong stops.
Oh.
And something about, I'm like a little kid. As soon as I get on the subway, it starts rocking. I instantly fall asleep. But you don't want to fall asleep. So I'm always like this, struggling to stay awake. And I noticed that everybody's face is confused. I'm like, okay, what's going on? What's going on? And an old timer in front of me is like, is this train going in the wrong? It was announcing uptown instead of downtown.
Oh.
I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to miss my train. But I noticed it stopped at 42nd Street. I'm like, no, it's going the right way. I said, the announcement's wrong. I said, this is just a precursor to when we elect that crazy Muslim communist. And the girl sitting next to me must have been in her 20s, and she just looked at me and smiled like I was like, this guy's an arrogant, istophobic, transphobic, whatever. So then I was just like, I'm just going to talk now. I'm going to be a crazy because that guy got off the train. And I was just like, it's going to be great. I said, when they ban dogs, I said, when the government subsidized supermarkets come in and close down all the bodegas because they compete, and everything that makes New York beautiful and wonderful and diverse is gone. And this girl's she's just typing furiously. I'm sure I'm on somebody's Twitter or YouTube.
Yeah, I don't care anymore about being called an istophobe. That
right,
kind of
it lost its power.
Yeah, well, like, dude,
to be honest, I never cared.
Yeah, well, like, it used to actually, like, you have like a normal person will have some kind of introspection where they're like, oh man, maybe I went too far. Am I a racist? Am I a whatever? And then I remember that like London canceled the Hanukkah celebration because it could stoke like unrest or whatever. And then they went ahead and had like an Eid whatever celebration for like a week.
My theory is Prince Charles or King Charles is Muslim. He converted. That's my personal. I base it on nothing, but just my spidey sense is tingling, and he just doesn't have the balls to come out because he's the head of the Anglican
church. Yeah,
and
it's part of his job.
Right.
Yeah, part of his job is to defend the faith, and if he converted, he's not doing his job. He needs to go.
Right. That's why I think he's quiet. But what was I going to say? Oh, my big fear, because I'm cheering for this. I'm out in New York in 4 or 5 years. You know what I mean? I'm done. I'm cashing out and I'm going out. I'm retiring someplace civilized. But so I kind of want to go out like in a movie when you're walking in and everything's on fire behind you. That's what
slow-mo explosion.
Yeah. But my big fear, I got two big fears. Is somebody's gonna start with me on the subway like a year from now, and I'm gonna defend myself and I'm gonna go to jail because like I've been in I'm whispering because I don't want my wife to hear, but I've been in like three fist fights in the past year.
Oh,
you know what
damn.
I mean? Because the people on the subway mess with you.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And they stare right in your face. Like, what are you going to do? I'm like, well, I might not win this fight, but I'm not going to back down because I learned that when you back down, it just, even if you lose the fight, you got to fight. I because it totally gets people by surprise. When a white guy and an old white guy defends themselves, people just don't know how to react. I'm not going to get into details what happened because that'll take it off. But let's just say it ended satisfactorily to me. But I'm going to go to jail because I'm not going to. And my next big fear is it gets as bad as I say, and then a Democrat president bails out New York.
Yep.
We never learn the consequences of our actions. Like I believe like a drug addict or an alcoholic has to hit rock bottom. Mm-hmm. New York has to hit rock bottom because it's always things get bad and then a Republican fixes it. Things get bad and then Giuliani fixes it. Things get bad, Bloomberg fixes it. You know what I mean? This needs to be, like Gerald Ford did in the early 70s. New York dropped dead. If you remember that headline, we just got New York accept the consequences. this new mayor wants to tax businesses that aren't even located in New York. If you do business in New York, we're going to tax. I mean, he's saying a lot of things. I personally think he's a plant. I don't think he's a real, like, serious candidate. I think somebody's putting him up for this, and they're probably surprised he's doing as good as he is. But I want, first off, Andrew Cuomo, if you're watching this, maybe you shouldn't have killed off all the boomers that would have voted for you.
Yeah.
Maybe you would have been better if you didn't murder all of those old timers that actually liked you. But what do you want me to say? So I want this lunatic to become, because I'm reading a comic book called DMZ. New York is walled off, and they just isolate New York. And I always said it's a great comic, despite that would never happen. The premise is so bizarre. I'm starting to realize it's more realistic than I thought. Like, New York, we're gonna have this guy in, and the 5 boroughs are just gonna, like, wall up Manhattan. You know,
Snake Plissken.
It's really bad. The only thing is, I because of my job, I'm bound to the 5 boroughs. You know what I mean? But I can make it 4 or 5 more years, and then I'm out.
Yeah.
You know? Got a good pension. I could go to go to any other. I got to go to a state that doesn't tax your pension, because I'll be damned. You can take 40% of my money because I sleep here.
Yeah,
you know,
dude. I take for granted how nice my state is.
And I'm completely ignoring the chat. I apologize. This is a topic that gets me. You know this, but like you were saying about London. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't want to tell you what to say. You were talking and I interrupted because you got me going.
Yeah. Well, oh God. Like, yeah, I'm glad I live in New Hampshire here in the United States.
That's one of the places I'm thinking of moving to.
I honestly didn't realize how much I took it for granted until I lived in California. Like, New Hampshire, like, okay, there's no income tax. You know, there's very limited. Like, the only thing they really get you on is like property tax, and you know, but like, the farther you get from the Mass border, the less the crime gets. So if you stay away from southern New Hampshire, which is basically northern Massachusetts, the only crime you got to worry about are like the meth heads or whatever in the Lakes region.
Yeah. It's funny. My wife wants Alaska. That shows you how much she likes people. But my problem is I do like people, and I like to play board games. I said, I don't want to move. First off, it's going to be like, expensive to buy food and stuff like that. I mean, I can hook up internet, still do what I'm doing now, still make comics. But as you can see, I got board games behind me. I want people to come to my house and play board games.
Yeah.
So we're compromising. She was looking at Montana, but Montana is getting pretty expensive because all the movie stars are moving there.
Yeah.
So, somebody suggested Idaho, and they're like, yeah, it's all white supremacists. And I'm like,
you stop. You're already sold me on it. Yeah.
It's to get me all ranty and ravey. Since the 90s, since I started college, I was arguing. I said diversity just means there's too many white people. I said diversity is anti-white, and people, if you think it's called racist, say it in the 90s. People were just like, I can't believe he said that. You don't like tacos? I said, what are we talking about here? I mean, nobody says that Nigeria is suffering from a lack of diversity. Nobody is saying that India is suffering, but Canada, NASCAR, nobody's saying the NBA is suffering from a lack of diversity.
Yeah.
Just New York is suffering from,
Yeah. Well, it's, there's a concerted plan, I mean, if you follow the conspiracies, like the Kalergi plan.
Me and my wife weren't particularly religious for the longest time. I mean, I went to Catholic school. I was an altar boy and everything, lapsed Catholic, perfect, And my wife, believe it or not, at the risk of saying something that I shouldn't be saying, she was like pagan, witchy poo kind of girl. Crystals and
and all that. What's your zodiac sign?
Yeah, exactly. People like, how are you marrying her? I'm like, wrong. She don't talk to me about. But during COVID, she became very, very Christian.
Oh, good for her.
To the point where she used to ask me questions about the Bible. Now I ask her questions about the Bible. She's upstairs studying the Bible right now. If she's not listening to this.
Oh, wow.
And I said to her, at the risk of it, I have a lot of Christian followers, but I said, I don't really believe in the occult. I said, but I believe that people believe in the occult. So in an Alan Moore way, that amounts to the same thing. Because if it's affecting reality, then therefore it's real to a certain extent. If you're following my, I said, but I do believe that there's some Illuminati type society that's just bent. And I used to say it was bent on destroying white people, but I don't believe it's the white people. What I believe it's Western civilization.
Yeah, the civilized world. Yeah,
white people are just a byproduct of this. But like Europe and Canada and Australia, all the places that have Western thought, meaning the concept of individual liberty and freedom of expression and all of these intrinsic concepts that we, from like John Locke into our Constitution and all this stuff, these places are being destroyed. And it's not so much that we're being replaced with brown people, because it's not a race thing. What it is,
it's a culture thing.
The concept of individuality is being replaced with collectivism. Now, that collectivism is Islam, communism, socialism, whatever it is, but it's just we're getting rid of the concept of me as an individual has certain inalienable individual rights that are intrinsic to me and not given to me by a government. That concept is being destroyed, because you don't see China being overrun with foreigners, and you know what I mean? Like, and to me, this is again probably to see. I love conspiracy theories. This is probably going to get people mad at me. It's why Putin's the bad guy.
Yep.
Putin, like it or not, he's not letting his country get vaporized, and you know what I mean? Like they got an individual way of life, a way of thinking, and he is a bulwark. Now, I'm not saying he's a good guy.
No, yeah.
But like, that's what I think, and I think that's why they hate Trump. And Trump has flaws. I'm not one of these people that think he's like appointed by God or anything like that. I just look at Trump and I say, here's a guy that values the concept of individual liberty and freedom. Like Biden, at one point, I do think he believed in that, but like either he's compromised or he went senile. But like Obama didn't believe in it.
Oh, no.
Everybody's, you're racist. I've been saying this from day one. I said, there's something un-American about Obama. And when I said, because he's black, I said, well, what do you think? Black people aren't American? What I'm saying is Obama thinks like a foreigner. Like this whole Keynesian economics, everything. And Obama, I don't know, 8 years of that guy and all of this. And now, I don't know. You got me ranted and raving, and nobody's.
Yeah, that piece of crap is why I was homeless. Was Obama? I was homeless because that asshole's that shakedown that he did with the affordable health care thing.
Yep.
I had lost my job. I was out in California, and I had done all the math. I number crunched, and I was able to stay in Irvine, California, unemployed, and live off of my savings for a period of time while I continue to look for work, to get my feet out to get my feet underneath me. And I had my taxes done. The next thing I know, the government jumped into my bank account and stole money without my consent because I didn't have health insurance. Yeah.
What I liked is I got, I'm in a union, which sounds kind of hypocritical. But I got no problems banding up against, the workers getting together, to defend themselves, because the average person can't defend themselves against a corporation. That's, you know what I mean? But we got taxed. And I remember the head of my union going, we should consider ourselves lucky that we got hit with the luxury Cadillac tax for our health care. That's how I'm like, do you hear yourself talking?
Yeah.
We should get lucky that we're getting screwed.
Yeah, that's a slave mentality.
It was sinister. The whole cars for cash, the clunkers for cash.
Yep.
What did he do? He got rid of all of these cheap cars. Now everybody has to buy cars with computer chips, super expensive to fix. Nobody could buy a $500 clunker anymore. We have two cars. One, I crashed one of my cars last year, and now I have to buy a $25,000 car just to drive to the train station and back. I can't buy a $500 station car because they don't exist anymore. They spent $14 billion to get rid of worthless, piece of shit cars that teenagers are supposed to, have sex in the back seat and They got to push it to start it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That did. Yes, I won, Eric. Yeah. I'm so far behind in the comments.
Oh.
Yep. That see this comment, Andy gets what I'm saying.
Yep.
Yep. I'm going down the chat now, but I don't know. There's just something we veered away from the whole, and we have a whole generation of kids that don't understand individual. Like today, I was arguing with an apprentice, and he just said, I can't explain it, but I just feel that the Republicans are bad. I said, well, that's the problem. You're not thinking, you're feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he just looked at me. I said, you need to think. I said, because I feel lots of things, but that doesn't mean it's right.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I want to go home right now. I feel like I want to eat an entire pizza. But
damn. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all plants. I agree. What are you saying? Ron, hey Ron, but this is my buddy Ron. Ron did the art for he did half the art in Heroic Tales #1. He did the art of the suit.
Hell yeah.
Ron, I don't know what I'm allowed to say or not, but Ron is kind of semi-retired from comics. So I talked him into a story that on his own pace. His own time. So I just can't wait to
lure him back.
Ron, you should be working in professional comics.
Yeah, you should.
The story that he did first off, he did that so quick. I was like, oh my God, unbelievably quick. He did everything I asked better than I expected. I described something that I thought was complicated. He banged it out so good. And now he's even better. He said he did I have a variant cover for Patriarch #2. Because Ron was just excited to draw. And I'm looking at this artwork. I'm like, it's a sin for Ron not to be doing comic books. But anyway, Escape from New York.
Yeah.
What sort of plants? I voted for I don't know what's going on. John the Demolition Man. Yeah. Yeah. New York City is going to descend into Gotham City, and then the police are going to go after Batman.
Yep.
Because we're going to have the Penguin and the Riddler in charge. Which is kind of what Science City is. Except it's not as obvious. At least the politicians in Science City, they're charming in person, and they look like normal people. Leaving California. We forgive John liking the conversation. Thank you. Yep. Alaska is expensive. I know.
Yeah, it is. Oof.
And nobody will come to visit.
Well, everything has to get flown in. So, like, cereal is like $20 a box. It's like, oh, man.
Yeah, I know. Just go to the local butchers, buy meat. That's all I eat anyway.
Yeah.
Eat bread.
Nice.
I know. Maybe we'll be neighbors. Never apologize for free associations. Are we watching because we're like, thank you.
Yeah, man.
Oh, that you just remind, like, we have already lost the right of freedom of assembly in this country, and we never even realized it. Freedom of assembly means we have the right to assemble with anybody we want and not to assemble with anybody we want.
Mm-hmm.
Like these women who just want to be able to go to the bathroom without men in the bathroom, they can't.
Mm-hmm.
They're istophobes and whatever phobes. And like a men's group, you can't just have a men's group anymore.
Nope.
That's discrimination. No, it's freedom of association. Like it or not, this is you're allowed to run a bad business. I believe that you should be able to open up a deli and say, I'm going to make up a nationality that no Andorians. I assume there's no Andorians watching. But you're allowed to say we don't want Andorians in my and you're allowed to protest my business, but I'm allowed to make poor business decisions.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And we lost that so long ago that we don't even know that we have that right to say, I want to associate with this. I want to engage in commerce in this group, not that group. This group, I mean, it would be stupid of me to say only these, kind of like modern Marvel. I don't want straight white men buying my comic books. Marvel is allowed to make bad decisions.
Yeah, they did that. What was that TSR sequel company that crashed out?
I saw that today while I was on the subway.
Yeah.
Like when my own friends come to my house. Hey, Brittany here. Best comic shop board games. I'm undefeated in Clue and very good at Scrabble. I got other games that are like more gamery, Clue and Scrabble. Brittany also makes some of the best cookies. She's the honcho, or is that the correct word? She's the boss of Mabel Bakes, and she sent me a big box of cookies when I got into my car accident. And
Oh.
and I open up the box, and right on the top is a big heart shaped cookie, and it says, "Congratulations on not dying." And my wife and I just
Celebration.
started laughing. Good sense of humor. Yeah, I ate that cookie last. How you doing?
Hey.
We'll get to your comic. You got me fired up. The only games I play are Magic the Gathering at comic shops. Yeah, I love Magic the Gathering. I told my Magic the Gathering stories a few times. I don't know if you want me to tell that again, but I don't play Magic the Gathering anymore. I'm going down the Oh my God, there's so many. Now we're getting to the Western civilizations based on. Yep, that's why they must destroy it. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, like I said, I never believed in the occult and all of these, but now I do think that there's a secret cabal that's directing everything. And I think that's one of the reasons why they're going nuts over Trump. I think Trump. I don't know what's in his mind. My telepathy doesn't work, but I do think that either Trump suspects this, outright knows this, or he's stumbling upon it. But like that U.S. aid.
Yeah.
That was brilliant that they went after that first. And look at all these judges just making insane injunctions because they know that this is the gravy train. Because we send money overseas, and then that money comes back, and then they use that money against us. So I've been saying again since I kind of became politically aware in the 90s. I'm an old man. I was like 20, 25 around in the 90s. And I just started saying no foreign aid. What we said, $3 trillion, $4 trillion to Africa, and it's never gotten better. It's never gotten better. How much we give Israel all this money, and what do I get out of it as a non-religious person? You know what I mean? Like
they get free education, and how come we don't?
If you move to Israel, you don't have to work for a year. Your job is just to get acclimated to the culture. Because they have so much because I'm down in the tunnels breathing in dust, wearing a mask, when COVID comes out, even though I'm on a 12-foot ladder, physically impossible to be near anybody, spinning steel gal. You know what I mean? Like I don't care. I'm not religious. I don't care if Israel lives or dies. In as much, not that I'm anti-Semitic, but I also don't care if Uganda lives or dies. I place no value over one of these countries more than the other. I care about America. Keep my money here. We'll do business with you. You got something to sell us, we'll buy it. You got natural resources. We're not going to conquer you. We'll do business. That's mercantilism. I don't believe in mercantilism. This world is run by demons. I don't think Russia has a Rothschild's bank. You see, this is something that I'm looking into.
The Red Shields, The
Red Shields. Heroic Tales number 5. Obama didn't really grow up in the U.S. Yeah, he grew up outside of the U.S. and he has can you imagine? I'll never forget. My foreman at the time was just like Obama. I was like, no, and he was like, and he's a white guy, and he's like, you're a racist. I'm like, shut the hell up. I don't think he has American sentiment. And then like a week after he got elected, he was in the newspaper saying, I didn't come here to help the out of work white construction worker. I came out here to help the people that I actually cut it. This was newspapers. I actually cut it out and I taped it to his blueprints right in the middle.
Wow.
And he looked at me. I go, he's not here to help you. You better not get laid off. Yeah, he told us exactly what he was going to do, and now we got, because of him, we got these 3 retarded ladies on the Supreme Court. I mean, these women shouldn't even be running a deli, and now they're running that. That last.
They're useful idiots.
She is borderline retarded. Families don't want you. They hate the middle class. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
My beard is looking good. Thank you. It's so hot. It's so hot. I come home, I take a shower every day. Everybody's talking. Wrangler sends me 420. All right. I guess I got to buy marijuana with that. Right? There you go. Hey, we got Brian Bow here. Wolf and Batsy is an awesome comic.
Oh yeah.
And, I'll give a stupid thing. Wolf and Batsy is in Heroic Tales number 2, but they're not in Heroic Tales number 2. Not really.
Oh.
So there you go. Yeah. I mean, there was a Wolf and Batsy Horace H. Hoover hostess cupcake ad or fruit pie ad in issue 1, but
Nice.
they're not in the ad. They're in the comic, they're not really in the comic. So
Oh,
there you go. There's a couple of cameos by my friend's comics in Heroic Tales #2.
nice.
I'm due for another box, actually. Brittany,
Oh.
since you're watching, I'm not with 30 minutes, and I didn't even give you a chance to talk yet. You wound me up. But Brittany, when Ron, he did half my comic, and my first comic just came out screaming towards the stratosphere.
Mhm.
She sent me a big box of cookies, and my wife goes, what is this? I'm like, I don't know. And we open it up, and there's a big note by Brittany on top. Mabel Bakes, check it out on Facebook. Mabel Bakes, got to do the right thing.
Oh,
And my wife got mad at me. She's like, what are you extorting cookies from people that are working on your comic book? This isn't right. And I'm like, I didn't know this was, I didn't know, I kind of got a little embarrassed. I'm like, am I? Like, does Ron think he needs to bribe me with cookies? And then we open up the box, and she's like, oh, these are good. And then months later, when I got to the accident, I got another box. She's like pushing me out of the way.
it's like he can't defend himself. He's in a neck brace.
Yeah.
I'll grab him.
Open caskets. So Wolf and Batsy has open caskets. It's an art book. All of his art from like commissions or his private
Awesome.
stash, all in full color for the first time. And Brian Bow focuses me. He wants to hear about Infinitales. So this is a good segue. Tell us about Infinitales.
All right. Yeah. So
War of the Trees.
yeah. So we finally got book 2 out. It's been a while. Book 1 was funded back in 2021. And a lot of kind of the reasoning for why it took a little bit longer than it probably should have is that with this campaign we have 3 editions now. You've heard of variant covers. We have variant books. So 120 full color pages. Okay. You've got the standard edition done by the original art team, which was Antonio Brandeo and Elzir Alves, and the alternate art edition, which is done by a husband and art team at Barbusco Studios, Eduardo and Mika. So it's the same story, just a different art team's vision of it. And then a 3rd edition, which is a black and white manga containing books 1 and 2. And we're holding kind of an experiment with it. After the first campaign launched or fulfilled for that matter, I sent out a survey. I got, kind of some insights from the people that gave me money. And I wanted to give more of what these people who paid me, I wanted to give them more of what they wanted and not waste resources on things that they didn't want. So I took some of the feedback, sent it out to my art team. We had some back and forths, and then I reached out to another art team and said, okay, let's see what you can do. So we're trying to do this the most democratically empowered future of this product. They're all competing against each other, all 3 of these editions, and whichever one gets back the most will be the future of the series.
Okay. I was wondering why you did. So you have your original team. Then you hired somebody else and redid the book, and then you hired somebody else and redid the book again. Wow.
Yeah.
and what? I mean, is just because you wanted to do this, you wanted to see 3 different versions, or
yeah,
problem with one team that they got hired by somebody else? And
well, it's a lot of it is that as the hashtag just the writer, I want the story itself to be able to stand on its own, and that's kind of what this experiment shows is that. You've got 3 different artistic visions of the story. And, I don't want the story, or at least from the feedback that I got from the first campaign, nobody really kind of griped about the story. They didn't have the pacing issues. They didn't have problems with the characters or any of that stuff. So it was like, okay, so it's an art thing. I don't want to give people excuses to not back this book. You know what I mean? I want, okay, you didn't like the art? Well, how about now? We change the art for you. Oh, you still don't like it? What about this one? There's a 3rd option, Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of what I was trying to approach with that. And, it's no disrespect to the art teams because I love the art teams that I've worked with.
You have to. You have to.
They're great people.
I'm in the same boat as you. I'm hashtag just a writer. and if I see art that I'm like, I don't want to pay for this. This, I wrote a story and this art, you know what I mean? So if you're going to see it through completion by a writer, you at least know that the writer is like or the money guy,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I love Renzo's art. Now I'm working with a couple of other guys.
Mhm.
Well, Ron. Obviously, I've worked with him before. I love all the art in my book. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
Well,
tell me
yeah.
about this character, this elven woman. Is she an elf?
Yes. So when the Infinitale stories themselves started way back in 1990, I was this borderline dyslexic 12-year-old kid that was part of a Dungeons and Dragons club at the local library. Yeah, I know that's something that people get beat up for, but I generally was the one that beat up people. So I was like the one kid there that was like, okay, I feel like a daywalker. Like I didn't have the thick glasses or the the pocket protector,
Oh,
any of
I
that
know
stuff.
exactly what you're talking about because in high school I was on the football team and I was the comic book Dungeons and Dragons guy. And
Yeah,
it's mean to admit, but I didn't want my worlds to collide.
yeah,
I
gotta
lived
keep
in fear of
separated.
cool football people knowing that I played Dungeons. And then, like the story I always tell is one day they just came to get me. I was laid in my bed and I had Daredevil comics all over my floor. And they just came in to wake me up to do something. Hey, we're going to a party. Whatever. Oh, Daredevil. I love Daredevil. Oh, I have this issue. And I was like, oh, well, I'm not going to get made fun of.
Yeah, well, so that's it. It started as a tabletop role playing game that I was developing, kind of by myself. I wasn't rich enough to get all of the Dungeons and Dragons books, and this was around the time when 2.5 was going into version 3 of D&D. So all the books were obsolete and all this other stuff. So I started making up my own stuff, and around that time, I ended up. Later on, I got into high school where they treated all of the students like criminals. We had to have 140 hours of community service to graduate, and the teachers or the whoever the brain trust was who came up with that idea didn't understand that there was a difference between the word volunteer and compulsory.
Right.
So the librarian overheard this and said, "You babysit these kids. You use them as guinea pigs for your little tabletop role playing game thing. Make sure they don't tear down the shelves or climb the walls, and I'll give you whatever community service hours you want." So I did that for 4 years in high school, and we developed the game, and I had all like nothing will prepare you for professional criticism like a 10-year-old kid that you can't punch in the face,
Well,
because they'll give you.
you
Yeah,
can.
well, yeah, you can, but that would be the end of this story. But I ended up, we were going through a recession in the early 90s as well. And in order to keep the lights on at the library during the weekends when we could have these games, we needed a way to kind of generate revenue. So we had part of the fantasy club or whatever it was for $5 a month, you'll get a newsletter that has the chronicled game sessions from the previous, like a recap.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then an illustration by me. This was back before I lost the ability to draw, but I did illustrations for it, and people look forward to it. They're like, oh, dude, if you combine it, it makes like a cool like procedural images and all this stuff. So we ended up doing that, and when it finally ended, I went off to university, packed up all the stuff, put it in a nice big storage bin, and it languished there for years as I went off to I got into video game development. Moved off to Japan, moved off to Australia, moved off to California. And finally, after about a decade of chasing my meal in the video game industry, I was like, yeah, I can't do this. There's no retirement plan in video game development. So I ended up leaping careers in my late 30s from video game stuff into cybersecurity. And I love cybersecurity. I love my job, but creatively, it constipated me.
Yeah. I went from my degree is in Roman Greek history. I wanted to teach college, ancient world history.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went into elementary ed because I just needed the job.
Yeah.
Then in my 30s, I switched to construction, but I still have this like daydream. Like, how often do you think about the Roman Empire? Every day, every day, And I wanted to do something creative. Now I'm at the point where I could do. So I hear it sounds like we traveled the same arc.
Yeah. So basically, I met with. First, I wanted to publish my tabletop role playing game. So I pulled it out of the bin, started looking at it, going, "Oh wow, dude, it's been decades since I've messed with this. Let's do this." I talked to one of my engineering friends over at Blizzard, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we could do this." Then we both looked on Kickstarter and went, "Holy crap! competition is stiff. This is a saturated market.
Yep.
Like, yeah, we're going to get our asses kicked. So I held back on that, and it was like, well, what else could I do? And I looked into screenwriting, and took some courses on that. I ended up going down to Boston, down in the Foxborough, to do the Project Greenlight thing. I failed miserably at it, but I got to say, I learned a lot from Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. Like, those guys are no joke. No matter what they show on, celebrity crap or whatever, they know their stuff. They're not idiots. And I had the Stern talking to, and it was basically like no production house would ever touch this crap unless you do it like animated or something, because the budgetary concerns alone would just scare away any production house. So I was like, crap, I guess I could do animation. And I grabbed a copy of Toon Boom animation, Flash, all that stuff. And I had the wherewithal to do it for a little bit, but then I ended up getting something called a peripheral nerve damage in my hands, and that kind of ended my art days. So I was like, crap, I can't do this anymore. I still have my doodles. I still have, I was an art director at one point in the video game industry. So it's like, okay, I can direct others to do my art. And that was when the suggestion was, let's do comics. I'm like, well, I know how to read comics, but I don't know the first thing about making them. So I reached out to this guy in California, Zen, and he looked through my screenplay script and said, no comic artist is gonna touch this. We're gonna have to go through the entire script and convert it into a comic book script so that artists can actually, use this, make it a workable script. And the script was so big, it took us like over a year to get it all done. And when we finally did, we winnowed it down to the first book, did a little choppy.
So why not a novel then? If
Well, prose writing didn't appeal to me as much, like, especially from the perspective of like, what could we do to get people jazzed up about a tabletop role-playing game? Was like, let's get them like a pictorial primer. Let's get them a historical overview with imagery. It's almost like a concept art book you're showing to people to kind of pre-sell them into this world.
Because I have the same thing. Like if I'm around for another couple of 2 years making these comics, I'd like to make a superhero role-playing game.
Yeah.
I just like you said, the competition is fierce. Like ever since I know Critical Role is very controversial. People love them. People hate them. I personally don't have an opinion because I never watched 2 seconds of it, but I do know that people personally that love Critical Role, I can't stand. So I'm biased against them, even though I've never watched 2 seconds of Critical Role. But because of that, everybody and their brother is making their own role-playing games, but they're all fantasy-based.
Yeah.
Some of them are sci-fi based, but there aren't any superheroes. So I think I might be able to squeak in something with a superhero playing game.
Yeah, corner market on the superhero stuff. Yeah, man. Yeah, well, for me, it was, this was kind of my my life's work. I mean, it's over 30 something years of stuff. And, I loved dude, I'll tell you, man, it depressed the shit out of me when I left video game industry. And it was around 2014 when the woke craps started. And like, basically all of my hobbies told me they didn't want me as a customer.
Yeah. Somebody said make minis.
Oh, there you go. Hell yeah.
Oh, Eric, I got the file. I forgot. Send me a DM and I'll resend you the file. I sent him an image file, not the file to make a mini. So I found it and I'll send it to you again. Just DM me because my brain is Swiss cheese. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just saying, like, that really depressed the hell out of me, dude. All of my hobbies told me they didn't want me as a customer anymore. I couldn't, like, I'm reading comics and they're talking about dinner parties and proms.
Right.
Or
like aren't evil. Orcs aren't evil.
Yeah, they're Mexicans now. Like, it's pathetic. Like, where were the days of like the Molly Hatchet Boris Vallejo covers?
A monstrous fantasy race created by Tolkien, that has no based on the word goblin. You know what I mean? They're telling us you associate them with black people. I'm like, I never said this.
Yeah, where did that come from?
They always say that they project. That was the worst project. Because I don't know about you. When I played my Dungeons and Dragons, we had black people.
Yeah.
And they were paladins and they were wizards and they were clerics. You know what I mean? They weren't orcs. I don't know what you're talking about. And now orcs, it's a fantasy game. You know what I mean? Like just pretend that there's monstrous races.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're cliches, they're tropes or whatever, but they exist for a reason. They're good storytelling elements.
Right? They're supposed to be irredeemable monsters that you could kill and not feel guilty about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh no.
In my fantasy game, orcs are the worst of the worst of the worst. Like my players, like, oh no, not orcs. You know, they use like Roman military tactics. They do nothing but practice for war. They're an
Wait,
evil,
just
unrepentant, monstrous Spartan race.
nice.
And I don't even want to tell you what they do with prisoners because they get demonetized.
Well,
Like
yeah,
elves,
there
they're
are
obviously
no
black people. Drow
yeah.
elves. They have to be. No, they're underground, and they met the creatures that live underground, and they're corrupted by evil beings. You know what I mean? That's it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there are no orcs in the Infinitale universe. So like when I was doing research for my stuff, I didn't want to take from Tolkien, and I
Right.
didn't want to take from Dungeons and Dragons because it would have felt like a Xerox of a Xerox. So, I plumbed the depths of the Pelham Public Library, and I started finding books that were tacitly written in English. There were translations in it. The Kalevala, which is the Finnish folklore, Snorri Sturluson's Volsung Saga, the Book of Invasions, or the Tua Danan, all that stuff. Like I grabbed that, like the elves in this world, the Alfar, which comes from the Celtic word for elf, Alfar, and yeah, I grabbed from that, and I thought, like all of the stuff that Tolkien looked at, like the operas, Wagner's operas, like the Ring of the Nibelung, like all that stuff, like that's where I want to go. I want to grab that stuff. I don't want to, I want to be inspired by things that very few people know about. I don't want to be like, if I'm going to rip something off, let's rip off something that everybody knows about, and they can point and go, "You're a phony. You just ripped that off."
Yeah, I mean, I forget who said it, but to a certain extent, they're true that all fantasy is either reaction or inspired by Tolkien.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's an insult because I freaking love Tolkien, and I can't, I play Dungeons. I play a superhero role playing game, and I use those rules for fantasy because I just don't like the Dungeons Dragons rules. I like the Villains Vigilantes rules. But there's elves, there's dwarves, there's orcs, because it's just me and my friends playing. But if I was to, I have no intentions to, but if ever I write a fantasy, I'm with you. There's going to be no elves, no orcs, because it's going to be compared to Tolkien, and then it's like being compared to like perfection. You know what I mean?
It's somebody else already told that story.
So tell us about. First off, we've already been talking for 45 minutes. Let me play your trailer.
All right.
So I'm going to make this big, and I'm going to play your trailer.
Knowledge is like a seed. When sown in fertile minds, it opens doors to new possibilities. Truth, once buried by the ages, is again revealed. The unimaginable becomes demystified. New wonders are discovered that transcend the limitations of previous understanding. However, some doors should never be opened. Our tale continues with the divergent paths of our heroes. As a naive king toils with ancient powers beyond his control, a grieving queen makes a fateful decision that forever changes their world. Infinito Chronicles, the War of the Trees.
I turned off my mic because I'm eating Cool Ranch Doritos. If Hojo's watching, it's funny when Hojo said he doesn't like Cool Ranch. My wife bought like 6 bags. So,
Man.
what the art in that? Which edition was that? Because I really like that art.
That was actually both of them,
Okay.
skillfully mixed. Yeah, the most of that is from the standard edition, but you will find aspects like the baby faces and the girl getting drowned. That's from the alternate art edition.
Like this image right here. I think this is gorgeous. Is this
So, so that is not the interior art, unfortunately. That was a illustration that Pau Rodricks did for me.
oh, there you go, Pau Roderick.
Yeah, the Genuine Comics Perfect 10 campaign. He had a goal in there, or a perk in there, to do a sketch. So he gave me a black and white line art sketch, and then I colored it and added a background to it. And boom, we made it an early bird special card. So like the first 10 days, if you backed the book, you got that card.
Okay, cool.
For the first 7 days, yeah. Yeah, and that's our showcase of products there. So we've got the 3 book editions, the standard there on the left, the alternate art in the middle, and then the manga Jumoku no Tyson on the in the middle, or on the right. And then we've got some 3D printed nylon glow in the dark water leapers, which are based off of Welsh folklore. They're these like carnivorous frogs with teeth and bat wings and a scorpion stinger tail, nasty little buggers. And then one of the heroes that's kind of more explored in this book, Nessa, who's a fawn character, one of the ancient enemies of the Alfar.
Okay, and you said this was inspired by the Kabbalah and
So I grabbed inspiration from million. Let me rephrase that. I took everything that I used in my stories from the Kalevala, which is Finland, the Mabinogia, which is Welsh, the Book of Invasions, which is Irish, the Snorri Sturluson's Volsung Saga. Like, I didn't want to use Dungeons and Dragons as a reference. So everything here is kind of at the source instead of, Dungeons and Dragons or Tolkien stuff.
Yeah. The Dungeons and Dragons stuff, like, I love it. I grew up with it, but every once in a while I'm like, why did you make that decision?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I love it. I mean, I'm using D&D in issue 2 of Heroic Tales. Yeah, everybody will get what I'm talking about when they see it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what we're seeing here on the screen is, if you notice, the interior, there's no interior art examples. And the reason for that is if you press the button, I have these 3 plates for each of the different editions. And if you press the button, it opens up a new tab where you can flip through the book and even download the PDF. It's a 15-page preview of each book.
I'm clicking it. It's not on the screen. Okay, so I'll have to end this and then I'll present what I clicked. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm a firm believer in try before you buy. I don't want any surprises. So yeah, this is the standard edition. So this is an example. You get all the credits for who's working on it, and you get to see what the first chapter of the book looks like.
Oh, cool. And which edition is this?
Standard.
Yeah, this is gorgeous.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I really like this. Yeah,
awesome.
I mean, I'll probably look at the next edition and say this is gorgeous too. But yeah, I like. This reminds me of like DC Comics back in the 80s and 90s. They did Forgotten Realms and Dragonlance Dungeons and Dragons comics.
Yeah, man. I'm kind of a fool for the color as well. So like I worked with Alzir and we kind of did a lot of color correction, made sure everything kind of flowed right. So there are a lot of heavy emphasis on colors to help tell the story as well. And the alternate art edition done by Eduardo and Mika is more painterly, so almost like a European bande dessinée, whereas this is kind of more of like you're saying, the 90s style DC and Marvel. Yeah.
I'm gonna. Is it okay if I bring up the other one?
Oh yeah, bring them all up. In fact, you'll notice when you're flipping through these, there's a little download icon, so you can download the free 15-page preview and not be beholden to a website to read it. You can just read it as a PDF wherever you want.
Okay. Why? Okay. Too many buttons. Too many things popping up on the screen. So this is the, you see, this looks gorgeous too.
Yeah, it's the same story. So you're just getting Eduardo and Mika's artistic vision of this chapter.
Yeah, this looks good too. Yeah, same colorist.
No, this is Mika Fusco who's doing the color.
Okay.
And Elzir and I did the color in the first one.
Yeah, I'm seeing the difference in the panel layout.
Yeah. I wanted to give them some
over
level.
here on the left. This page, you had one big panel on the front, with the emphasis on the backgrounds, and this is emphasis on close-ups. Yeah, I could see the differences.
Sweet. Yeah, and we also offer a bundle in this campaign to get both of these books inside of a nice little slipcase, because I found that when I was sending out advanced copies and for people to proofread, a lot of people were like having fun comparing and contrasting the two stories, and they're like, I actually got this part in the story that I missed in this other book, or vice versa.
Am I doing this right? Is this the third one?
Yep, that's Jumoku no Taisen, the manga.
So you have those open. I'm afraid the next one's gonna be my credit card information. This opens up backwards then, huh?
Yep. This is a traditional manga style. In fact, the dialogue is in English, so all the spoken chat and all that stuff, but the sound effects are in Japanese.
Okay, look at this. Yeah, it's completely. Yeah, I want to try to see if I can recognize that same page.
Oh yeah. This one actually shows a different scene. So this one, Antonio, who worked on the standard edition, also worked on the inks for this one. And this book contains both books 1 and 2, so it's 180 pages instead of 120. And we actually added additional pages, so there are pages that are in this that aren't in the first book.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, a lot of work. Is this a limited series? Is this one and done? I mean,
yeah. So we're aiming to do 10 books in total, and this is only book 2. And the reason why we have these 3 editions again is because we want to. I want to see which of these 3 is what there's the highest demand for, and whichever one gets the most backing. There's a little scorecard you can see on the campaign page. Whichever one gets backed the most, that's the future of the series for up to the 10 books.
Oh, okay. We promise not to look at my credit card information. Here's the link to I'll bring back your regular campaign page. So what is the name of this elven woman?
So this is Queen Aisling, and she is one of 7 queens that rule these cordoned off sovereignties on this continent. And they live in this kind of utopian paradise where everything is tended to them. They never get old. They never get sick. They're basically pretty people with problems, eternally adolescent, consequence-free sex. They don't have kids. So they're just, living it up. Everything's perfect. But they are ruled over by this dogmatic theocracy, this like religious order of druids. And the druids are actually beholden to these gigantic beings, the gods, that walk among them. And in our first story, Second Genesis, we realized that all's not right in this paradise where the impetus is Aisling gets pregnant and nobody knows what to do. They're like, why does an eternal being get pregnant? What's going on? Like only the gods would ordain this. And she ends up having complications. She starts having hallucinations, these dark visions and these fevered dreams that she has. And the dreams are telling her that everything she knows is a lie and that she needs to basically get out of Dodge, take her kid with her because bad things are happening. And as she's weakened by these fevered visions and everything, they end up because again they're ruled by a theocracy. They don't even get to name their kid. They bring their kid or her husband in her place brings the kid to the druids, and the druids name this kid, and they learn of this thing called the harvest, which is a periodic thing that happens. Like they don't really measure things in years because what is time to an
so is everybody like this elven race? It's not like she lords over the humans, or
No. There's no humans on this world.
Okay.
You know, yeah. It's just these Elfar people.
God, there's no white males. There's no straight white males in this world. Sounds like no wonder it's a utopia.
So, you finds out that her son, who gets newly named by these druids, his name gets added to this lottery to be drawn for ritual sacrifice, and the queen is like, "What do you mean?"
As soon as you said harvest, I knew that was coming.
Yeah, like, what do you mean? The kid didn't even get a chance to live a life yet. Why? This is for people who've lived forever. To be renewed, essentially. Kind of like Carousel in Logan's Run, and so she starts, kind of enacting plans. Like, she's like, I've had these visions telling me that there's stuff going wrong, that this is all lies. And her husband's like, you know what? My wife's going nuts. My kid's going to get killed. I'll do whatever she wants. I will go in her stead and go off to this forbidden ruins on the outskirts of our village or our kingdom where we're not supposed to go. Because the gods told him, these are your boundaries. Stay within your boundaries. So he's like, I'm going to take some of my most loyal soldiers, and we're going to go on behalf of some of what her visions were telling her to go to these ruins. And she's like, okay, I'm going to try to go, but I'm too sick. So my husband goes. And bad stuff happens when he starts leaving the protection of these custodial gods and starts seeing how nasty this world is when he goes out into the frontier. And basically everybody gets messed up. He and one of his soldiers are probably the only ones that survive, and then they encounter their ancient enemy, the Crenudi, the horned ones, the goat people.
Okay.
And yeah, that
I gotta ask, is this like a high magic world or a low magic world? Like, I know there's like a non-human race, but like,
so it starts off as a non-magic world at all, and we learn through as the story progresses that the Alvar were once really powerful magical beings, but their heritage was stolen from them by these giant gods, these beings called the Fovera or the Formorians. And things start getting real bad when they start reclaiming their heritage and start being able to use magic again. In fact, the second book shows them tampering with magic, like relearning a lost art.
Oh, cool. Yeah, you got to have a team up with Rini.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, have your continent battle her continent.
Yeah.
I for the longest time, like Lord of the Rings to me satisfied my fantasy cravings, and then the movies came out and I watched them, and then I didn't read the Silmarillion until after the movies, but now like reading the Silmarillion and talking about it just made me want to read more and more other people's fantasy stories. Like, that's when I didn't get those DC Dungeons Dragon books until maybe a couple of years ago. RJ got me into Conan, so this is right up my alley now. This is something that's pretty cool. Yes, Eric Grant. They're like 90 cents a piece if you could find them.
Yeah,
these D&D books. They're a lot of fun, great art. They hold up before computer coloring, so they just look like old comics. They're really cool. Yeah. This sounds pretty cool. I got to say, I think you're crazy for putting out 3 editions of the same book. Jeez.
Yeah,
but I admire it. Yeah.
Well, because sure, it's an upfront investment, but at the end of the day, like, it's going to save me in the long run. I clearly don't plan on doing this for future books, but what I do plan on doing is, providing what people want and not wasting money on things they don't want.
Right.
And by putting up that 3-way experiment, sure, it's costing me money now, but by the time I'm at book 10,
I hope it pays off. Like I said, I admire your what is, I can't think of the correct word, but I admire your dedication to you obviously have faith in your book. You think it's solid enough to. I mean, I work with my main artist, and I kind of don't want anybody, like, if people don't like his art, then I'm like, I guess I'm done, because I like it so much. It would drive me nuts to see somebody else. But I admire this. I don't know what to say. It's going to sound like I'm saying bad things, but I admire your stick-to-itiveness about this. It's pretty cool.
Thanks. Yeah, I got some vim and vigor, some gumption.
So what are the trees? I can't help but think of the Tolkien trees.
Yeah,
Arion and Laurelin.
So
know?
there is there's an old tale, a poem in the Mabinogi, the Welsh mythology, called Cadgatho, the War of the Trees, and the trees in that were literal. And there's a lot of like scholars and a lot of historians are kind of at odds where they're like, I don't know if it was supposed to be literal or what. It's about a guy who stole a pig, and then they ended up magically bringing the trees to life to go fight it as an army and all this stuff. So in this, the War of the Trees is a very figurative element where each of the seven sovereignties are represented by trees, and these elves are and their original origins were these arboreal beings. They were born from these seeds that the gods had planted, and so each of those seven sovereignties has their own specific trees. The sovereignty that Ashling here rules over is called Tiri Gothen, the land of the tree, and it's about yew trees. So there's YEW, those trees are everywhere. But the other sovereignties are kind of cordoned off, so they're not allowed to go over there essentially and talk to their neighbors.
Like if one of them has like a pine tree, like would they be like a snowy Arctic kind of people?
Yep, exactly.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
I mean, I'm big on world building, so I'm digging all this. But like you've been doing this for 30 years, so you obviously have this world thought out.
Oh yeah.
It started out as your role playing game.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we have, like I said, we have similar stories because I've been playing my superhero role playing game. I've been doing it for 40 years. I had a website up where we would post all the stories. It just came down 2 weeks ago. Man, did that hurt. Luckily, we were able to save all the data. So we're hoping in a year or two we'll be able to put it up again because it's like a lifetime of adventures. I'm sure you understand. But
oh yeah,
but the world building now. The question I want to ask is when I was writing my script for my first comic, a couple of my friends said this is just world building the comic, and there's no story and there's nothing to hook me in. So I got mad at them because they're all idiots and I'm a genius. And after about 3 or 4 days, I realized they were absolutely 100% right. And I threw away that script and I streamlined it down. I picked the patriarch as the flagship character, and I did a rookie thing, the day in the life of the patriarch.
Yeah.
Now, what do you do? Like, are you going to just come on out like with the genealogy of Fenior and you know what I mean? Like, or is this a more personalized tale about this?
So I don't know if my approach is the correct one or if there really is a correct one, but I'm a firm believer that world building should only be in service of the story.
Yes, yes, that's what my friends told me. Like, and I'm so glad that I got some honest criticism that from people that were trying to help me.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, I got like 10-year-olds telling me, dude, nobody, like, history class is already boring. Now you want me to take a history class in your made-up fantasy world? You know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, I get it. But like,
what I learned at work was when some poor guy, construction, I'm trapped in a room with some guy. We're installing electrical wires thing, and the guy's like, oh yeah, just to make conversation. I watched the Lord of the Rings last. And I'm like, Lord of the Rings? I got a guy trapped with me for 7 hours. By the end of the day, they're like, switch partners. I don't want to work with this lunatic. So I understand you overwhelm people with the lore. They got to be receptive to it.
Well, like most of it is stuff that doesn't even get like in technical terms, end user facing. Like the audience doesn't know, but as the writer, I need to know so that I have my story straight and I don't make contradictions or what is it? Retcon, where things get broken and you have to retroactively, mess up the continuity. And like, I have all that stuff, and I've had 30 years worth of that stuff. I don't think any reader will see it all, right. and that's perfectly fine. Like,
yes, I mean, in my comic on the first page, there's foreshadowing, that I would like to get to, you know what I mean? By 8 and stuff like that. Oh, that's why. Like I have this major revelation that I'm biting on because I want people to see how good, but I can't because it's going to ruin something. So I understand where you go. You want a world build, but you got, like you said, it's got to be in service to the story. So I call it drip release. Now I did the same thing whenever I play my role playing. Do you still play Dungeons and Dragons? Do you still have people over and do sessions?
Not as much. It's been a few years actually, but yeah, we used to play 3.5.
during COVID. Geez, that's 5 years ago. I moved into this house and I didn't know anybody, and I got a whole new group of guys. That we meet like once a month and we play role playing games, and I have to change my whole way because the last group of guys we've been playing for 12 years, they knew all my lore, they knew everything, so I could drop little hints and they would pick it up or whatever. But these guys, they're playing role playing games in 6 or 7 different groups, different games. And now so we got to do like real short, real intense, a Sunday game, and it's killing me not to overwhelm them with so I, well, and you don't want to do info dump.
When I
put up a front, they got kids. They're not going to come over to listen to me regale them, and then
and then well, like when I was in the video game industry and I worked on
Generation of the Orc Lord,
well, I worked on I don't know if you've seen the TV show Defiance.
No.
So it's an old sci-fi TV show, Defiance. It was there was a video game and a TV show kind of mixed together. And one of my jobs when I was part of the content designing crew was to document everything, because our narrative team was just a mess. Like, no offense to Tony if he's watching, but like, it was never documented. It was never hit by a bus proof. Basically, like if the writer gets hit by a bus, well, there goes the keeper of the lore.
Yeah.
So I documented it all, and it kind of frustrated him and some of the other designers, where I'm like, no, we are the info dump. We are the ones that have to have everything. Like, if our story takes place in San Francisco in this futuristic apocalypse or whatever, what's going on in Beijing, China? Right. We'll just leave them. No, I don't think you understand. Like, we need to get our story straight. We just got arrested. Like, we're getting interrogated. We need to be able to answer these things.
That's a good point, especially when it's written by committee.
Yeah.
Mike Bancroft, he has a wonderful book, The Lucent. Check him out. Readers would always prefer to be confused and intrigued than overwhelmed and bored.
Yes. Amen.
That's a good way to put it. That's a really elegant way to put it.
Yeah. Don't demystify things. Yeah.
Always leave them wanting a little bit of more. And I don't know. Drip released the world building. Like I read comics where it was just world building the comic, and then I was doing the same exact thing. But that's why you need an editor.
Oh yeah.
That's why.
Yeah. You need 10-year-olds.
Oh, I got to show this off. Another fantasy book. Look at this.
Yeah.
I just
trademark white and red.
No offense, Infinitales, but this is one of the top 3 best crowdfunded books I've ever read. I didn't read your book yet, so maybe there's always room. But this is awesome. Look at this box, and I left this box on the subway, and so somebody in New York has my original. I was brought it to read, and I left it on the subway. I fell asleep.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not only a creator, I'm also a backer. I got this book. I was talking with Arvid the other day because he's like, "Hey, we sent them all out," and I'm like, "I didn't get mine yet." It's because of my mail.
Eric the Guapo, Band of absolutely. This, Fiendish, and Wraith of God are my 3 favorites. Rock and Roll Ninja is up there. Wolf and Batsy is up there. There's so many good crowdfunded books. We hear this town is big enough. Yep.
Yeah.
And how can I forget Powell Roderick's Perfect 10?
Yeah.
Dave Brink. That to me, that is the best superhero crowdfunded book coming out. I have no problems admitting it's 10 times better than my comic.
Yeah. Well, to me, it's like, I mean, yeah, there's competition or whatever, and there is finite money and all this stuff, but like, at the end of the day, it's serving the same purpose if, a contemporary succeeds where I fail or whatever, in that the crap that I was told that I like all the mainstream, the dinner parties and the proms and the anti-white this and the rainbow that, like, that to me is the enemy. That to me is when I can get surrogates like the Band of the Crow or Fiendish or Perfect 10 or whatever, in there, like, I think that's a win for me regardless,
Right. A rising tide floats all boats. I absolutely agree with you. Michael asked, did I get Groke? I got Groke in 1 and 2. I loved them. The art is so good. I really enjoyed it. And number 3 is shipping. I didn't get it yet.
Yeah, I'm waiting for 28th.
I actually backed it. I back so much that sometimes I forget. I start typing a nasty email, and then I'm like, oh, I never even backed this. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
God. Yeah.
gotta check. Like, I didn't realize that I backed Joe Frankenstein twice.
Oh, damn.
Graham, you sent me 2 copies, and then Graham sent me a message. John, you backed twice. I'm like, there you go.
Yeah. Amanda B, she was posting on Twitter or X, and she's like, "Oh man, everybody else is getting their Grokin, and mine hasn't arrived. It's supposed to arrive tomorrow, or whatever." And I'm like, "Please!" I showed her my tracking for my shipping, and it wasn't scheduled until this weekend.
Yeah,
Oh.
This is from J.M. DeMatteis. He does like 5 books at a time.
Damn.
I'm just looking over at a crowdfunded stuff that I just got. I didn't read this yet. If I'm pulling Apollyon, Godfo, there's just so much good stuff, and like I like that there's so much good stuff being crowdfunded because it tells people that there is quality out there. There is good, like if you go down to Kickstarter or Indiegogo or Best Fund My Comic, and back some stuff, you just be, you're gonna get some good stuff. I do hope that like we could get big enough, maybe like we could get into stores. Like, wouldn't that be great if Fund My Comic got some sort of publishing deal and we could get into that's my
plan. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, at the end of the crowdfunding campaign, after everything gets fulfilled, I actually release a Amazon edition. I don't want to say it's the El Cheapo version, but it's got none of the white glove treatment, none of the cool tchotchkes or bonuses.
Yeah, I was told not to say cheap. It's the inexpensive version.
Yeah. Basically, it's the version that I don't have the same quality control that I have over the white glove treatment. You're going through Amazon, you're going through mass production, you're not going through the deluxe. I'm personally packing everything, looking through the pages, making sure everything's just right. Because, dude, that's why I named my company, after me, like Chris Fisk Media. Like, I don't want to put something out that I don't want to put my name on it, and it holds me to some level of accountability where it's like, dude, you can't hide. You can't be like, say, have a $30,000 campaign and then go, I didn't make enough. Sorry, guys. And then skip out because everybody will know.
I want to comment on that. Last time I did, I got myself in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to take jabs at that in particular, but I got double whammied on that one. Like, I backed it, so I'm not getting that book. And as a creator, I'm a no-name creator. I'm a low-level, I got one book, I'm proven basically. And it's like, if you're one of the big successful ones and you can't get your shit out, as a customer, what do you think the confidence is going to be about the no-name little guy that, has
it's
done
funny
shit?
that the no-name little guys are getting their stuff out. But and I don't mean to slam the big guys, but I think it in a weird way, like we have the luxury because I work a regular job. I'm not counting on this. You know what I mean? I don't know, but I get the feeling this isn't your income.
Oh God, no! People make a profit off of this. Yeah,
I'm barely, breaking even. So, but I pay my bills. This is my hobby. So like, it's fun. It's so cool to you got to understand. Like you sent out your script, and then a couple weeks later, you see those scripts turned into beautiful pictures, and then a week or 2 later, it's colored, and then you send it to and it's lettered, and oh my God, you got a comic book, and it's so much fun. That to me is worth it. But so I don't need to sell a lot. I would love to sell more, but it's going to ship because I'm not paying my rent with this. I'm not putting my kids through. Man, if I was doing all that on $8,000, I guess I would have to be living in Zimbabwe or something.
Well, for me, it's like if this blows up in my face, all it does is hurt my feelings. At the end of the day, it's like, dude, your book sucks. It didn't get enough to go forward beyond, whatever.
That art is wonderful. All 3 editions. Every time I'm looking at the different editions, I'm like, why did he change it? That was good. Okay, this is good too. Oh, but no offense, but I'm still getting the first one because it's most comic booky to me. You know what I mean?
Thanks.
That's I'm old school. But
just as I was saying though, like, I'm not going to lose. I'm not going to be homeless if these books fail. This is a vanity project, a passion project, whatever. Like, this is something I want to leave.
Vanity project because it sounds bad, but that's what I'm doing too.
Well, like my thing, like here's my ego thing. I want to leave something behind when I'm gone. I want when all of this bullshit is said and done with, I want some in years after I'm gone, somebody just pick up this book and go, wow, this is badass. This is cool. This is something enjoyable. Not, like, I don't care if I don't get famous or whatever. I'm not going to get famous. I don't have any of those delusions. I worked in the video game industry for a decade. I was a peon there, like, I don't want to do what it takes to be at the top of the roost. And I don't really care to be there, but I want to entertain people. And if
I mean, I hear what you're saying. I believe that everybody should have a realistic dream and an unrealistic dream.
Yeah.
My realistic dream is I want to get to like issue 4. That's a realistic dream, But my unrealistic dream is I want to see John Hamm playing the Patriarch in a major Hollywood movie.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but it's like every Friday I buy a scratch off lottery ticket. I stop. I get a big can of coffee at the store,
and I got that dream.
But I don't scratch it until Monday night because from Friday to Saturday to Sunday night I have this dream.
You're on euphoria, yeah.
I'm gonna make this comic. I'm gonna hire all my friends to do this, and I'm gonna buy a nicer house. I'm gonna pay off my bills, and then Friday I scratch it, and I got to go back to work because it's now a worthless.
Yep, dream over.
Fun. Yeah, and that's the way I think of this comic book. It's fun to work on it. It's really fun to write a script. It's fun to see it translated into art and pictures. It's fun to see people read it. One guy sent me an email. He said, "Yeah, I had some bad comments about it, but my favorite comment outweighed them all." He said, "Your comic made me feel like reading a Superman comic for the first time when I was a little kid." I was like, "All right, that's cool.
That's praise." Yeah.
But like I said, if I can break even and make the next issue, that's 100% success in my book.
Yeah.
I wanted to address what Eric Guapo said. I will buy a book in the fulfillment process if it's still available. So let me ask you, Eric, are you saying like you won't back a book until you know it's fulfilling? And if so, could you elucidate? Because that's the point that I was making, that a lot of people, through good intentions, bad intentions, or mismanagement, whatever. I'm not a mind reader. That crowdfunding, whether you like it or not, whether you want to get mad at me or not, and if you want to call me names, that's fine. But nobody ever said I was wrong yet. Crowdfunding has earned a bad reputation. And I don't blame people like Eric the Guapo. He's always in my chat, but I don't know. Did you back my book? But he's not going to until he sees that I'm shipping out. And you know what? I can't blame him at all.
Yeah. Well, my books are already printed.
Oh, really?
My books are in hand. I'm not selling an idea. I'm selling a product. I have to have a proof of concept before I think about asking people for money.
Already printed. So how did you know how many to print?
I printed my initial run because back in 2024, I went to the Granite State Comic-Con and I needed books to bring to the convention. So that was kind of my first foray in there. And I printed proofs before that I had sent out to my proofreaders. Some proofreaders actually swear by physical books instead of I can't proofread off of a screen. I'm like, okay, fine.
I can't. I proofread and everything was great. I sent it to the printer and I bought the what do you call it? There's a word, a proof. Yeah, proof.
Yeah, the proof version. Yeah.
And I caught a major mistake.
Yeah. Well, that's
because I don't know. There's something about a physical book that makes it real and you pay more attention to it. Yeah, I am so glad that $40 that I spent on the physical proof was so worth it.
Yeah. I sent out a bunch of advanced copies, the proofs basically, and I had my proofreaders tear it apart. And they found a bunch of stuff. We fixed it. The original size of book 2 is supposed to be 60 pages. And one of my coworkers or buddies there, he's like, this doesn't have a satisfying like peaks and troughs, like, the pacing. We need to revisit it. So I sent him over the entire script for the whole 10-book thing. And he's like, holy crap. Oh, that's what it's leading to? Put that in the book and move this around. And we ended up doing that. And sure, it turned into 120 pages, but you're going to get an actually like satisfying story out of that instead of a thing that could have fallen flat. Like, I had feedback. It was like, dude, nothing happened. Like, this sucks. Like, redo it.
Yeah. Rob Liefeld, he hasn't delivered in like years, and you can't get bigger than Rob Liefeld,
Yeah.
I just find it funny that the smaller guys are more reliable.
Well, they're hungrier, like we have more to prove.
I do think it's because they're not living on the money.
Yeah. Well, like we also, because we're all unproven. Like I don't have a brand. I never worked in the industry. I don't have, like, if you've ever been to an art convention or a comic convention, you'll see that. I saw this with the artists. We were talking about brand slavery the other day. And it's like, these artists will put up examples of their work to sell, like, hey, here's a print or whatever. They won't make any money on original characters. They have to draw pictures of other people's properties that they don't own the rights to. And that's the only way they'll get business at conventions.
I just saw on Twitter talking about the Heroes Con.
Mm-hmm.
And I never think of it because I'm not an artist, he set up a booth. He said in the first day, nobody came to his booth.
Yep.
But the second day, he was drawing pictures of Batman and the Ninja Turtles and Superman, and people were coming by to check them out. And then he hit them up with his, and I'm like, that's unfortunately that's what you got to do.
Yeah, it's brand slavery. We've been conditioned over decades now. Like, here's the one redeeming quality that those asshole hipsters had was they actually sought out new and original things because they wanted to brag about discovering it.
I knew Infinitales before it was cool.
Before it was cool, yeah. We don't have that shit anymore because we've been so brainwashed into, you gotta like this, you gotta like that, you gotta like this brand or this name or whatever is associated with it. And then it has to be vetted by, like, the merchants of cool, essentially. Oh, you like that? Okay, well, I like that too. Oh, okay, good. I'm part of the collective. I can like this. Because if you like something the collective hates, you can't be like, yeah, I got, I'm wearing the Kip Winger shirt. It's a Beavis and Butthead, like.
Yeah, it's funny that you said that because, I've always been into punk rock and lesser known, like, metal bands and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But when it came to, like, mainstream music, I was told to hate Nickelback. So I just hated Nickelback. And I still to this day can't name one Nickelback song, but I know I hate them. So, yeah, human beings are so susceptible to groupthink. Marlon Brando, when he had his kids, this is such a bad example considering what happened to his children, but he moved to an island, and he said because he said there's nothing more conformist than the American teenager.
Mm-hmm.
That was in the 80s when he said that, and I've been thinking about that my whole life. Like, sometimes I find myself, like, buying, like, in the 80s and 90s, I was buying T-shirts or whatever. I'm like, am I buying this to be part of the group, or am I buying this because I actually like this?
Yeah.
So yeah, what, buying and that's for Marvel. I was just buying Marvel because I've always bought Marvel. Like, at one point when I self-examined, I quit Marvel. That was that was like getting a limb amputated.
Dude, like, when somebody had asked me once, like, how did you get into comics? And this is gonna sound really lame, but in French class, our French teacher had all of the French comics, like Les Schtroumpfs instead of Smurfs, Tintin and Asterix and Obelix. Yeah. And, like, that's how I learned French, mon français est très mauvais, but still, I was, that's how I got into comics.
Are you Canadian?
No.
Okay, I thought maybe you were French Canadian.
No, I have a lot of French Canadian friends and neighbors, but yeah, I'm close enough to it I guess you could call me a bit of a Quebecer or whatever. But
I learned English from comics. I literally couldn't read in third grade. I was one of those kids that just, like, was able to fake it and and do enough to get to the next grade. But I don't think I would have passed third grade and without comics. By this time, I was in a Catholic school, and the nuns were starting to realize this guy's got a mental problem. The thing is, I made friends with kids that, because I was always reading comics, but like Wendy and Hot Stuff. This was like 1972.
Yep.
And then they started reading Marvel Team Up, Chris Claremont when he started.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about the characterization and the story and then predicting what was going on. And I'm just like, yeah, but Spider-Man punches this guy in the face. And so because there was something that I wanted to read.
Yeah.
I put value in that. I went from, the joke is always Jordan, the kid who literally came out of the bathroom with his pants down around his knees. He couldn't pull up his pants, and he used to yell in third grade, "Wipe my hiney!" That kid was my partner in third grade at the beginning of the year. And at the end of the year, my reading partner was Marianne, the girl that stood at the front of the room and wrote your name down on the board when you were misbehaving, when the teacher had to go leave for a second.
Oh,
so, because of comics.
well, Yeah. So like I didn't get into the capes and tights originally. Like Batman and well DC and then later Marvel. That actually came later for me. Like after the French books, I went into like we had a lot of like there's Newbury Comics here in New England. They have like the big.
Yeah, I've been there. I've been to Newbury.
Yeah, well, they like those were the big ones, but I could never afford to go there. So I went to the smaller mom and pop ones, and they had this one in Salem, New Hampshire, right on the border of Massachusetts, and it had like one of those adult sections, and they didn't cordon it off, and there was no like. And my parents were terrible. Like I saw stuff I probably shouldn't have at a young age, and I just walked in there one day, and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome!" And I saw Meta Hello, and I saw Quadrant. And the Fastener and Larson stuff, like Druna, like all the boobs, any like 10-year-old, 12-year-old, like it was the most amazing like Hitchcock camera moment. So I bought all that. I bought Elf Quest. I bought Peter Shue's Elf Warrior, like all that stuff. Like that was the first time I started getting into quasi superheroes was one of my buddies is like, dude, I got this book called The Crow. You might want to check it out. So he gave me The Crow like as a gift. I ended up buying it like 3 more times. I thought the art was ass. I did not like the drawings, but yeah, a lot of boobs and so I loved the story. Like I fell in love with The Crow, even though the like I was trying to draw it. Like it was bad art, and I was like trying
to
one up.
To me, is a perfect example of I think art is super important in comic books, but I think art will get you in the door, but I think story will keep you there.
Yeah. That's a perfect example. Yeah.
I mean, look at early Image. Everybody bought those comics, but there's a reason why it kind of bottomed out because after a while, like these comics they don't make any sense. They're not too good.
Yeah, I mean, The Crow for me was like a gateway drug into the capes and tights because my buddy who hooked me up with my first copy of The Crow, he's like, dude, if you like that, you're gonna love this, and he gave me The Killing Joke. And to this day, The Killing Joke is one of my favorite comics because Jim Gordon was the hero of the story. And you can get so much from that story that it's not actually saying, it's art and writing that's implying it. And I love that about comics.
Yeah, I'm still a big fan of Alan Moore. And I mean, if you're into comics and you're not a fan of Brian Ballard, then I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
that same kid in 3rd grade who got me, like I said, I was always reading comics, but he got me to like really read. Like I would skip the letters page. Like I would only read the dialogue balloons. I never read the caption boxes, stuff like that. But his father was an archaeologist, and he would travel the world on digs, and he would be gone for months.
Oh wow!
And have girlfriends in other places, but that's a whole other story. And he would come back with boxes of comics from South America, from France. So even in 4th grade, we were reading Metal. Or at least I was looking at the pictures and Asterix. I remember we made a cardboard Asterix. And who was Fulton-Fix who's the guy with the big fat guy? That was me.
Obelix?
Yes. I had to be him because I was the big fat guy.
C'est bon.
Tintin. I remember reading Tintin as a kid.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I was always exposed to comics.
I love that. Yeah, like when I saw the English version of Meta Hello, the heavy metal, and then one of my buddies like, dude, you've never seen the cartoon? There's a movie.
Yeah,
and that blew my mind, man. It's like animated boobs, like yes.
Oh, it's like the same friend. He was like, oh, we were sleeping over his house one night. He's like, oh, we're gonna watch Monty Python. At the time, Monty Python was on Channel 13, PBS. On I forget what, like 11 o'clock. I was like, okay, we're gonna watch Monty Python. All right, whatever. I never heard of it before. This is what, 3rd grade.
Yeah,
and we'll turn it on, and within seconds, it's the one episode with his boobs. It's supposed to be the guy who's the most boring guy in the world, but everything exciting happens to him, but he pays no. So like this Frankenstein knocking everything down, and he just misses Frankenstein because he's reading the newspaper, and he goes into the cigarette shop, and it's just a naked lady selling him cigarettes. I was like, I love Monty Python. This is great. And I watched Monty Python religiously, and there's never any more boobs. That was the only episode with boobs.
I came for the boobs.
It wasn't the first time. I probably don't think I would have been a lifelong Monty Python fan.
Yeah. But it's it drew me in with the boobs, but like I loved the violent stories. Like Yeah,
I got pulled in by the boobs. I stayed for the violence.
Yes, yeah, sex and violence sells, and that's proof positive. Yeah, and I don't know, like, but it was a good gateway though when I got The Crow, and then I got, I read The Killing Joke, and then oh god, like, when Marvel came in, like, I was kicking myself for not being because I think I'm a Marvel fanboy, or was old school Marvel more than DC for some reason, but like the early X-Men. And like and I know this is gonna sound really lame because I don't like diversity or any of that crap, but I loved Storm and the fact that like her story about like she basically like her family dies in New York and she flies out to or no, I'm sorry, she gets brought to New York, she's born, and then she goes out to like Egypt and everybody gets killed essentially, and she's this like Aladdin style street urchin, like that was badass. And then the fact that she's a freaking wizard. Like at the end, the Earth Goddess or Storm Goddess. Like,
I'll never forget they're where were they? They were in the Savage Land, and they're all gonna go swimming, and she's like, "Good, I could finally remove these ridiculous straps of cloth."
Giggity.
And I'm like 7 years old, like Storm's gonna get naked, and then she was trapped in by Arcade, and she's in a room and it's flooding.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember that same kid Carl goes, "Oh, you're gonna love the next issue. Storm takes off her clothes," and I'm like, "Really?" Like thinking that they're gonna show it in a Marvel comic book,
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like the Marvel artists, and dude, I gotta hand it to them. Like they knew how to draw naked people without making them naked.
Right. John Byrne is still my favorite. John Byrne, George Perez. Is when it comes to superhero comic book, they're the best. They're the best, and that's why I like Renzo. My artist, I think he's a mix between John Byrne and George Perez.
Oh wow!
It just makes me feel like I'm a little kid again every time I see his art.
Well, you did get that praise that it was like somebody said that it was like the first time reading super. Like, dude, I think you got the pretty good combo in there to get.
I love it. It's so much fun, and it's. Next issue is so much better. Matt Barron said my Mary Sue story. He goes, that was a really good story.
Damn,
I never would have told it like that, but you did a good job because she's dying and it's her flashbacks. So it's present, past. Mike is like, I just tell a story from the beginning to the end, John. He's he goes, but I like the way you did it. It made sense.
That's awesome.
Nobody had an issue with nobody had an issue with the original X-Men.
Nope,
because they were really good characters written by geniuses, and they had great costume designs. They had cool powers. They didn't overwhelm us with backstory. They allowed the room to breathe, and they developed, and I've been doing Sunday Comics, the early new X-Men, and we're only like 4 weeks into it, and so far 4 weeks of it's not my identity, the humans hate us, mutant of the week. It's just superhero stories. I think the downfall of the X-Men is when they became like, we're persecuted and my identity, and and it just got to be too much. Are there boobies in Heroic Tales? There's sexiness.
Yeah, there's side boob.
Renzo drew a scene a little bit more explicit than I'm comfortable with, so I'm gonna have to use some creative word balloons to make it a little bit more like I told him, throw a blanket on. This is just too exposed, so we drew it. But there is sexiness. I just sent Renzo a script for 2 characters that are basically naked for the whole story because it's kind of like an Adam and Eve story, but we're not going to show it. It's not going to be explicit.
Yeah.
There'll be shadows. There'll be,
strategic hair placement.
Yeah. And then I have an issue 4. There's going to be a female character that basically gets attacked while she was changing. So she's running around in her underwear, because sex sells, you got.
Yeah. We got PG-13, no low sniplays, but there is like strategic hair placement in book 2 here. Cause I had that back and forth with some of the proofreaders where they're like, dude, why didn't you go for it? Why, like, you got this hot white-haired elf babe, like, dude, you're gonna get people to nut over this, and I'm like, no, I don't want that to be associated with the brand.
Yeah, it's funny that you said that because the patriarch's wife, I wanted. She's a mother. She's a mother of 7 kids. You know what I mean? and Renzo made her a little bit more sexy than I want, but I was like, all right. And then like he made a scene a little bit more explicit, and it's funny because somebody was like, your character is a gay cuck, and I'm like, yeah, you would think it's a gay cuck about a man who's happily married with 7 kids, devoted to his wife and family. That tells me more about you. You're projecting. So I showed the picture of him with his wife, and then another person was like, "Oh, so you're selling pornography?" I'm like, "Dude,
Damn.
have you read a Bronze Age comic? Like, does anybody remember Starfire in bed with Dick Grayson?"
Yeah.
So my theory is, if you didn't see it in the Bronze Age, you're not going to see it in my comics.
Mhm.
Now, I'm gonna have an art book that might have some tasteful nudity in it,
Mhm.
you know, in the future if I get there. But that's, you know, that's going to be an art book. I think that justifies it. But I'm going to have, you know, whatever. I just think people just like to argue for the sake of arguing. And yeah, don't desexify. It's funny because she's a mom. She has a newborn. So there's going to be a scene with her breastfeeding.
Mhm.
And people like, do you think that's going to desexify her? I said, that's not really the concern. The concern, she's just like the patriarch is everything about fatherhood. Marissa, his wife, is everything about motherhood, everything positive. She's sexy. She's a woman. She's a homemaker. She's also a mom, and she nourishes. You know what I mean? So if it's positive about motherhood, she does it. So if like, I don't want it to be like a sexy thing. It's supposed to be a something. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I just worry that it goes into like the booby book category instead of like.
I don't want to mention names, but there's somebody that everybody kind of hates, and he was making fun of my book, and I'm just like, I could just make it a nudie book and put it on Kickstarter and make 10 grand, like you do, you know. I listed through all of it, his back catalog. It's just like Star Whores, boob, tits, like these. I'm not even joking. These are the titles of your books. It's like, you know, I'm not saying don't do that, but I think I'm fighting with one hand behind my back because I'm trying not to make it trashy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, like I could just make a nudie book and probably do 10 grand. You know, with the way Renzo draws beautiful women. You know, maybe we'll do that. We'll make fake names and
yeah.
Well, I'll make my own parody book. Pretend to be somebody that hates me and make my own parody book.
Yeah, argue with yourself so that you can drum up hype. Man, well,
Eric's gonna fight me in the subway if I desexify people. Yeah, okay.
Well, so one thing I want to add about my campaign is that
you got me talking about the wrong thing again.
Well, so in our campaign we had initially 3 stretch goals, and we met all 3 of those stretch goals. Like the first one was like a double-sided bookmark that had like a decoder element to it where you could flip it over, and on the back it says it helps you translate some of this foreign language that's in the story. That if you don't understand, you're not going to miss out on the story. It's kind of like the R2D2 or Chewbacca effect, but it's there, you know. So then the second one, and this one, I think a lot of people are going to really love. There is a free black and white 40-page preview of book 3 that has been unlocked for every backer. So everybody, if you're getting a digital edition, you'll get a second link to another PDF, and then the physical backers will get this second black and white book, you know, added at no extra charge. And you know, it's 40 pages, it's black and white, and it's giving you a good taste of chapter 1 from book 3. And then the third one, I think this one's going to be a hit. This one is a mini art book, so it's like an ash can, but it's a celebration of all the artists that I've worked with over the years to make Infinitale Chronicles. And I don't know if you can see on my portrait here, but I have the actual like the mini book right here, and as you can see, it kind of goes into like sex stuff. So like that's about as sexy as I get.
But that's tasteful and classy. That you know, that's sexy, not trashy. You know.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, like what Eric says, hot women are not trashy. It's what you do with them. Yeah. And I also have to point out this because it made me giggle. I could do a sex spoof called Heroic Tale. If I did Heroic Tale and put it on Kickstarter and it made more money than I would be so depressed. Yeah, you make Infinitale and you
yeah. Yeah. See, here's another POW pic that I colored that he sent over, and then this is trashy in some regards, but there's no nudity. It's all strategically covered. So That's
Right.
as bad as it gets, and that's
It's funny because in my Mary Sue story, there's an explosion and monsters are grabbing around, and I was like, I gotta sex it up a little bit. So I had Mary Sue's like shirt got ripped off, but you don't see it because shadows and whatever. But Renzo tamed it down, and I said, Renzo, you tamed it down, and he goes, that's my girl, that's Mary Sue, that's my girl. Like he's very protective of the character now, and I'm like, that is great. I kind of like that he doesn't want to cross the line because he likes the character.
nice.
But,
yeah.
But the patriarch's wife, he sexed up.
Yeah, he did. Especially that whole.
Just when I described her, she's 40 years old. You know, I was like, give her thick hips. She had 7 kids. You know, make her more matronly. And he made her look like a 25-year-old, you know, hot chick that you'd see in Hooters.
Giggity gig go. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing, though. Is like again, like I told my story of, you know, I saw Druna there sitting on the shelves, you know, Fassner and Larson work, and I was just like, boobs, like this is awesome. It drew me in, but I stuck around for the story. I didn't just grab one Druna mag. I didn't just grab one Quadrant mag.
There's a comic that I'm reading, an old what is it now? Epic Illustrate. It's not. Is it Epic? No. It's 19. It started out as 1984, and it changed its name to 1994. It was this. Excuse me. It was the Sci-Fi Warren magazine, like creepy and eerie. And when it first came out, I ordered 10 of them. So 10 of them came, and they were like soft porn, weren't well written, and it was just nudity. And how can they have like strange sex stories? And I'm like, but I'm a crazy person. If I buy a comic book, I have to read it. So I was just like powering through reading, and they were beautifully drawn, sexy women, but it was like borderline hentai. But all of a sudden, it got really good. Frank Thorne did a series called Gita. And Gita is a Red Sonja ripoff, and she's a thief who works her way into becoming the queen of this kingdom, and she's topless, and she used to be a prostitute and everything like that. Now she's like the goddess of love, but it's so good, and it's an actual good story. But you know, like, so you can tell good booby stories, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm babbling.
Yeah, well,
Mary Sue. Marcus read Mary Sue. Thank you, Marcus.
Oh, yeah.
I have a feeling the public eye is going to be just as good. Marcus is drawing a story for me, the public eye. It's actually called I Love a Mystery, but the character is the public eye. Patriarch is telekinesis, so he's telekinetic. Well, they're homeschooled. They live on the farm. They do work. They literally only eat the food that they grow because you'll see why. Something happened in their past, and the patriarch is keeping his family isolated.
Homesteaders.
To the point where that's going to become a problem because now the kids they want to leave the farm. You know, does he let the kid? You know, that's going to be. Are you a father? You know what I mean? At what point do you let your kids out of the? You have to. You know. So,
yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But also, I can't. But the patriarch doesn't have a secret identity. Everybody knows that he's James Kelly. Everybody knows that his wife is Marissa Kelly. You know what I mean? And in a world of jokers and penguins and green goblins, you know, you don't want your kid going to college. You know, like, hey, look at me, my father's the patriarch. You know.
Yeah, you become a target.
Yep. Oh, was there a video advertised? Yeah, there was a trailer. I'll bring it up one more time. Thank you. Every once in a while, I need somebody to refocus me to what the purpose of the interview is, but that's why it's a conversation.
Yeah.
But yes, if you go to here, you could see the video. I always get nervous that they're gonna say, "Oh, what was John watching?" Well, I was watching drum solos and you know, and so there you go. You know, once it was real embarrassing. I was like, "Whoops." You know.
Yeah. If we want to go through the kind of what's on the, you know, what we got on the showcase here in the campaign.
You want to talk about the tiers, and then we'll get going.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If you go through the main body, it'll show better the tiers than the little.
We're down here.
Yeah. So that's our showcase. That's everything that we've got for sale, including a 16 by 20 canvas world map. I'm a big fan of maps. I'm also kind of a staunch anti-poster folder. So any posters that I have, they're all rolled. Unfortunately, so we've got that 12 by 18 poster there that's got a pretty cool cover on one side and then the cards on the other. Like I I roll that sucker.
Yeah,
Um,
I got a couple of posters. You know, your boy Zach, and they're just folded and they're lined. And I'm like, I'm never hanging these up.
yeah, they get all creased, and yeah, you get that ridge through them.
And I forget who it was. A real small crowd. They're like, "Do you do posters?" And I told them why. I said, "You gotta get. You can't fold them, so you're gonna have to either get a tube or an oversized thing." So I just not gonna do. But for my next campaign, if you don't mind me selling myself for a second, you see this? This is a metal print.
Oh, nice.
This is a metal print. I had one test made to see, and this is glorious. My wife loves this. You know.
Yeah, that's not getting ridges.
So this is something I'm probably going to offer on my next campaign, Patriarch #1. But it's expensive, you know. So I'm trying to figure out like what is the best way that I could offer this, and I'm going to have to make them, you know, one because I can't afford to just print 100 of these. That's like we're talking like $1,000.
Yeah, those look expensive.
This is a metal print. This is excellent. So I would rather do this than posters. But you guys have to let me know. I got 150 people watching. Is anybody interested in stuff like this? Because I got another Renzo is working on another back cover for Patriarch #1 that is poster worthy. And then I got another super secret project that Renzo is doing a poster for that. Oh my god. It's gonna feel good. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you with posters.
Yeah, man. All right, so yeah, there's also a pack of 10 trading cards, and they're American poker size. They're plastic, so they're really difficult to tear. And the cool thing is not only are there 10 cards, but there's a likelihood of getting an 11th hollow foil card in there as well. And if you scroll down to the section of it on the main page, you can see all the cards and what are the possibilities for the hollow foil cards.
Oh, cool.
And then we've got the paint kit there, the 8-inch statuette of Nessa, the hero that gets kind of fleshed out a little more in this story. It comes with all the paint brushes, it comes with the paints, it comes with the mixing palette. Yeah, the clear varnish. It even comes with that nice little card that I made that shows kind of like, if you want to paint her by numbers to make her look like how I painted her, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, I made I don't know if you can see this, but I made a really detailed Patriarch mini. Nice. And I'm gonna get one made for Mary Sue, but I forgot to put it on the campaign.
No. Yeah. There's also that statuette of the water leaper that I mentioned earlier. It glows in the dark, and it's bright, man. So like, I don't want to be held responsible if people start getting like getting sick because that thing is like, yeah, it's like Chernobyl level of glow.
I have tons of prints and posters. Yeah, I hate to say this, but most of the what do you call it? What's the word for it? Tchotchkes. Mm-hmm. I have a long box just filled with posters and prints and cards from all the crowdfunded like stickers and things like that. Like,
yeah,
I for me personally, I would prefer like more comic than but you got to do it like stretch goals. It's kind of fun. Like I got them right over here. I got my cards of my characters. You know what I mean? Man. It's fun to do.
Yeah, that's why I set that survey out after book 1 because I don't want to waste money on things that people don't want. And yeah, like what Young Joel was saying, he's like, yeah, that's fine, but it's going in the drawer. You don't have to buy it. Like it's you know what I mean? I'm not going to force a bunch of add-ons.
Yeah,
these are all add-ons.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I don't want to give people crap that they don't want because I definitely I'm a backer too, dude. Like I've got boxes full of a bunch of things that like I'm one of those guys that's afraid to use stickers. So I have a bunch of stickers that I've never used.
Yeah, I was gonna turn the camera. All my stickers are on my fridge right here. I got my the whole front of it's covered with stickers, and now I'm like, oh man, I hope this fridge lasts. Because if I got to get rid of this fridge, all these stickers are going away. But I sit right over there next to feed. I just don't want to turn the camera because there's a mess over here.
Yeah, that's why I'm afraid to like use stickers. But like, I asked people what they wanted, and like one of them was actually magnets, and so I reached out to this pixel artist on X, Nicotine Fist, and he did 16-bit sprite artwork of all the heroes, and I made them into acrylic magnets, and I used rare earth magnets for the actual backing of these things, and I thought I had telekinesis when I was putting these things together. Like I was moving things across the room. Like you could affix a folded CVS receipt to your refrigerator with one of these magnets. That's how tough.
Rare earth magnets are fun.
Yeah. So I figured rather than making them just aesthetic, you make them a little utilitarian too.
I made little stickers just like without even telling people. I just throw them in the packages, and people seem to like here's a sticker for Eddie is Doomed, a comic that's being worked on.
Cool.
So if anybody backs my comics, they'll get like a little free stick. And I like just taking the superhero symbols.
Yeah, the laurels. Yeah,
and then just a generic heroic tales. I got a Mary Sue. Where are my Mary Sue stickers? But things like that. I make coins. They're not really the biggest seller, but like, I probably sell like for every 10 comics, one of these coins. But
nice.
I just get a kick out of them.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Going back to what we were talking about when Young Jaw was saying the thing about putting them in drawer. Like when I put the surveys out there, that's why for your stretch goals you're getting a 40-page black and white book. So like, I mean, that's the size of some people's campaign books.
Yes.
And you're getting this for free.
My comic is 40 pages. Yes. You're giving them away by campaign. Yeah.
Yeah. As a bonus, because some people like content is king and some people want more of that story. And it's like, okay, there you go. The part of asking people what they want and them telling me is I'm going to give it to them. I'm not going to be like, well, I feel you should get this. It's like, no, like you're the one giving me money. So you're kind of my boss on that, So.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I wanted. What for Patriarch #1, that's something I want to do. Like, what do you guys want as stretch goals? Like, I kind of made a bunch of cards already for these characters, so like that's pretty much gonna happen because why not? I already paid for it. But like, what other interesting stuff? Like, again with you, I don't want stuff that you just gonna throw in a box and forget about.
Yeah, it takes effort to put these things together too, and to realize that it's just going to get hucked in the bin anyways. It's like, wow, why did I even do this? I don't want to waste my time, and I don't want to give people what they don't want.
Oh, we've been talking for 2 hours. Jeez. And normally when I don't have a face to talk to, I kind of just can't wait to end it. So, but you got to go. But I got to go have dinner and go to bed. I got to be in bed in an hour. So,
sweet.
A classy nip slip. So, is that for the elf chick, or do you want to see the patriarch's nipple? I could have him farming without a shirt on.
Oh Jesus! Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, if you guys get a chance, please check out this campaign because again, I'm a firm believer in try before you buy, and John showed it earlier, but there's free 15-page previews of all the stuff that I'm selling here in book form, so you can actually download them and read them on your own turn, whenever. And then it also shows a lot of the goodies, and it shows the stretch goals, like I was saying, the book and the art book, which I was showing on my my portrait earlier. Like those are like bonus incentives. Those are stretch goals, things that you're not going to get charged extra for. I'm a young nobody, or not young, but I'm an early creator.
Nobody. You're an old nobody.
Yeah, I'm an old sad nobody, but I still have a product that is kind of in its infancy. So as a crowdfunder, like I'm going to try my best to give you guys the white glove treatment because you're showing me support for an unproven product. I plan to have 10 books out. I'm only on book 2, but helping me along the way will get me, to that 10 goal, that quest of 10 books a lot quicker. And, and if I don't succeed, like say book 3 comes out, people don't like book 2 or whatever, gets panned. And then when I launch book 3, and it doesn't sell, well, that's the end of the quest. The story ends there, and yeah, it hurts my feelings. But again, I don't want to give people like a bunch of crap they don't want. I want people to be entertained. I want people to geek out and talk about this stuff. That's what I missed about like when I was kid in the 90s. And we lost that along the way. We've got all the identity politics, all the like everybody is looking forward to bash all the shit that's coming out because it's garbage. It's just not entertaining. It's always excluding. Like if you're a white male and you're trying to read comics or entertainment media of any regards, you're basically being told by every business out there to get, to screw up.
What was the name of that role-playing game? Literally today said you're going to be outbred and it's going to be glorious. And you just announced that you got a role-playing game coming out.
Yeah, like what interesting strategy, Cotton. I hope
Yeah,
it pays
yeah.
off. Like,
Well, how's that working out for you, Cotton? What is the quote? But geez, oh, I
yeah,
hate you. Buy my book. I'm gonna do
yeah,
that for Subway. I'm gonna hand out my comic book. Hey, I hate you. You want to buy this? Hey, I hate you. You want to buy this?
yeah. Like I
You have
don't.
to be realistic. If you're on the Subway, I probably hate you anyway. But they don't have to know that.
Yeah, well, it's my thing is like I don't have any beef with me. I don't care who buys the book. I'm
Right.
not I'm not trying to gatekeep customers. Like
Like
I
your
need
boy
help
Matt
to
used
do
to
this.
say, people on death row need to buy toothpaste too.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Well, I need help. Like, and anybody that's willing to help is okay in my book, man. You know, like that's why I go on these streams. That's why I reach out to as many people as I can, because I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that are just as just disillusioned by the dinner parties and the I'm not Starfires and the Mexican orcs and all the stuff that like just ruined, just pissed in my Cheerios. The people are just like, I'm not into that anymore. I'm like, what? Why? He's like, well, I like the old stuff, but this new stuff is crap. And it's like, well, here's some indie alternatives. Like I could be complaining about all that stuff, and I'd probably be a pretty lucrative YouTube career. But like, I don't want to do that. I want to provide solutions. I don't want people to be miserable. I want them to be happy.
yeah.
So,
Speaking
yeah.
of, like, I just got an image from one of the guys working on one of my stories. He's doing like a concept of a character that I don't want to spoil or anything yet. And I'm just smiling because it looks exactly what I pictured in my head. It's so fun
Nice.
to get this stuff.
You guys are in sync.
Yeah. I mean, it's, so it's just so cool. Like, guys, it's so fun to imagine something, describe it to a professional, and then they draw it, and it's exactly what and we were laughing talking about this character. So when you work with me, that's one of the things I kind of ask, like, hey, can you do the character sketch of the main characters first, and then we'll use that art as the trading card.
Mhm.
So we're killing two birds with one stone. I know that what the character looks like. We're fleshing out the character, and then we got the trading card made already. So
Yeah.
that's what he's doing, and he just made, and I just typed to him, "Good job." I want to punch him in the face.
Don't you love that when you have a punchable face character?
Oh, I'm trying to make like a rogues gallery for like a Batman type character called the Raven.
Mhm.
So like I'm trying to fill it with like Jokers and Penguin type villains. And this guy, I can't wait till you guys see this story. It's so good. The villain it's so detestable. And Ron just drew him so punchable.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, Marcus, I got a lot of villains for Public Eye. I got a lot of villains. I just thought of another one today. Oh man, Public Eye stories are going to be pretty disturbing.
Nice.
Yeah, he's going after the grand. I'm babbling now because you got me talking. But yep, it's time to wrap it up. Thank you. So you have the last word. You finish what you want to say before I interrupt you again.
Yeah, no worries, man. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, just if you're into fantasy works like Dragonlance, Record of Lodoss War, Elf Quest, even Lord of the Rings, give this one a chance. We have 2 books out. We're aiming to have 10. And I don't think you're gonna
finite epic. You have an ending set.
Yeah, this isn't going to be like a J.J. Abrams thing where we wing it. There's an actual definitive story here. And like I can't do this without help. So, like this is only possible by backers, and support from people like John and people that let me get on here and spread the good word.
Yeah, it's fun. I enjoy doing this.
Hell yeah.
I like talking. Yeah, I like talking to people about comedy. It's funny that you said, because the Patriarch I don't have an ending for, because to me he's like a Superman. He's a Batman. Like I would like to tell stories for 70 years if I live so long.
Yeah.
But like the Public Eye, I have an ending for him. But when that ending happens depends on you guys. You know what I mean? Like if I get the feeling I'm winding down, I'll throw the ending. And then I just sent a story, and I know the ending for the story. I know how the character ends, and I can't wait. I can't wait to tell people how that character ends. It's so good. Like, man. But yeah,
man.
So that's good. You have an ending already.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's like a manga then. That's why I think people like manga, because there's a beginning, the characters progress, and then the characters have closure.
Well,
it's satisfying.
Yeah, like the title of my property here, Infinitale. It's a portmanteau of infinite and tale, like the Never-Ending Story or EverQuest or all that stuff. And the idea is that these graphic novels are going to serve as like a historical primer for the tabletop role-playing game, where you can make your own stories, your own infinite tales.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. So yeah, I just got to ask that because these are things I'm interested. Comic books, role-playing games. Do you play board games?
Oh yeah.
Okay, there you go.
I'm a big fan of Settlers of Catan.
I'm looking right there. I got the ceramic edition. Like
Oh damn!
I look at that. That's like going for like $4,000 on.
Oh damn!
I'm so tempted to sell it because now they got a plastic 3D version that because this one I'm so protective of. It doesn't leave my house. We only here, but it's meant to be played. But like, do I really need a $5,000 game when I can replace it with the plastic edition? Like, I got this right over here. Bought this when this came out.
Oh wow!
Do you know this is $1,000 on eBay?
Holy crap!
And I played it like once.
Oh man, dude, I would be selling $1,000. Oh shit!
Yeah.
I wonder if my Hero Quest will be worth anything.
Oh, okay. Michael Bancroft is going live in 20 minutes, so we'll have a delayed raid over at Michael Bancroft. We'll go to the Michael Bancroft's channel in 20 minutes. I'm gonna have dinner, and I'll probably be laying in bed, falling asleep to Michael Bancroft later on tonight. Michael, you'll help me dream. Which now I'm babbling and making a fool of myself. So curtains. So there you go. Back in Infinitales. I got to check. I forgot if I backed already. It's on Indiegogo, right?
It's on Indiegogo. Yep.
Now I got to ask: Are you going to put it on like Fund My Comic or Kickstarter or anything like that?
So the plan is once it goes, the funding stage ends, I'm probably going to leave it on in demand for a very short period of time. Like it was something Amanda B was mentioning as some advice. She's like, if you might get more backers if people start seeing this, others receiving it. If they start posting like box openings or whatever, and they're like, holy crap, I want that. Well, so that's why I plan on doing the in demand for a very short period of time, and then after that. I send out the surveys, get all the all the feedback and everything, and then it's going to go on Amazon as the retail edition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Once people started getting Heroic Tales #1, I noticed a little upswing in sales of the first issue.
Yeah.
And I don't blame people. They're like, okay, this guy's for real.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was saying this to guys at work, and that's why I said what I said about crowdfunding is their own worst enemy. I talked to the guys at work. I was like, hey, you want to buy my comic? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, give me money. And they're like, well, where's the comic? I'm like, 6 months, then get back to me in 6 months and I'll buy 5 copies. You know what I mean? And I couldn't get them to understand the concept of crowdfunding. I remember my foreman is just like, let me get this straight. You want money right now for a comic book that's not even made yet? He goes, what am I buying? Air from you? And I was like, I can't argue. Like you're supporting my dreams, and he's like, I'm supporting your dreams when I give you overtime. Like get the book, bring it to my desk, and I'll buy it. So
yep.
Eric the Guapo. He's in my chat every day.
See,
and I don't blame him. I absolutely don't blame him. No harm, no foul. You bought the book.
Yeah, man. Nice. Is Jeremy?
Is this what's the name of his book? Beckoned,
yeah, and he's got a video game on Steam. You can play the demo.
Yeah, he changed his name a lot in Avatar. That confuses me because I'm kind of retarded. But I gotta say, Zaid Beckoned, the art is so good.
It's gorgeous.
It's almost scary.
Yeah,
I'm like, how can a human being draw this good?
He poured his soul into that, and it shows.
Yeah. It almost is like Sauron poured his malice and hatred into the one. Like he poured his soul into that comic. It is really it's. This sounds like I'm saying a bad thing, but it's like creepy how good it is. The art,
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
every page is a painting. Every page is a poster. Yeah.
You know, you could sit there and just marvel at every panel is a work of art, like to the point, like, dude, it's just a comics aid. Calm down. You know, just, you know what I mean. But it's really, really, really bizarrely good. I I'd probably say it's the best crowdfunded art I've ever seen. You know,
Well, I gotta say, I mean, it's a it's a good time to be a fan of fantasy and indie comics.
yes,
Because not only am I shilling Infinitale, but there's also you've got the Band of the Crow from Arvid that was in here earlier, and you've got
yep,
Beckend here from Germany. Like these are good books. Like
right. You got
I mean,
you
yeah,
got
oh yeah, and Fiendish as well. Yeah, I don't know why I forgot. Yeah, I have all three of her books right now. There's
right.
the one by I think it's Rushbrook.
Yeah, I mean, I just got Joe Frankenstein, Graham Nolan. This is my favorite thing Graham Nolan's ever did. I just got well, it's not crowdfunding. I got Something Big by Chuck Dixon.
Oh,
You know, that is my favorite thing. As out of all the things Chuck Dixon ever wrote, I still haven't read Mike Barron's Sherlock Holmes yet. Oh, my comics!
oh, dude,
Please don't bend.
dude, look at Baron. Like, look at the presentation of that gold lead. Like, god damn, that is a good book.
I got it. I got to check. Okay, this just fell off my stack. My X-Men 94.
Oh, damn.
Thank God I aborted it. It didn't get banned.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That would have been a very sad outcome.
But anyway, every time I say I'm gonna go, I stay. But I'm getting real hungry and I gotta eat. So, guys, it really is a good time to be a comic book fan. I mean, Marvel and DC, I think they're turning the corner. Things are getting good. And part of me wonders, as Marvel and DC get good, will crowdfunding sales go down? You know what I mean? Because comic books are supposed to be impulse buys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're making people wait 9-10 months. So I'm going to try to have like my books more and more finished by the time I launch the campaign. Like,
Yep.
you know, that way it is an impulse buy. Get it. You'll get it in a month.
Yeah.
You get it.
Yeah, dude. Mine's already printed. Like, and unless I get a whole shit ton of sales that go beyond what I have for my inventory right now, you don't even have to wait for printing. You know, it's there. So you're buying a product. I mean, you're backing me, but like you're backing a solidified, tangible item that is in my hands. I have photos of me with the book. I'm good in Photoshop, but not that good at faking stuff like that.
Yeah. But I'm really gonna go. I got 50 minutes before I got to go to bed, and I have to have dinner.
All right, man.
I got a hard job, and it's hot out. I
don't envy that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again for having me, man.
Oh yeah, anytime. It's a lot of fun. I got to check to see if I backed your book, because I always say, "Oh yeah, I backed your book," and then everything's I'm like, "Where's mine?" I complained to somebody, like, "Dude, are you gonna send me the book or not?" And they're like, "Sorry," and then they sent me one. And then I realized I never backed them. So I'm PayPaling you the money. I'm not asking for it. You know what I mean?
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So I've been known to think that I've backed books. and sometimes like, oh, okay, I didn't realize I already backed it on Indiegogo, and now I'm backing it again on Kickstarter. I've done that a few times.
Oh, I've done that. Yep.
Yeah. So I really should write everything down.
Yeah.
Get organized. But let's be realistic. That ain't happening. All right, everybody.
Have a good one.
Go to Bancrofts. Go to Bancrofts in 15 minutes. All right?
Yeah.
Bye-bye. And raid. I want a long box raid. Bye-bye.